A regular meeting of Health, Mental Health, and Education Committee. We're in City Hall, room 1010. We have quorum. Thank you, Councilmember O'Farrell and Councilmember Englander. I'd like to call this meeting to order. For those who want to make public comment, please fill out your speaker cards and bring it up to the front, please. And I'd like to open up with public comment, and we have one public comment card. So, Wayne? 2 minutes.
So, we're here today to talk about all of the issues. And I noticed that there's a lot of anger on these committee meetings and council meetings by several people. And I would recommend, as a health and mental health issue, that maybe some of these council people enroll in anger management. Anger management is a good thing because a lot of these people on the council have been making statements after public speakers speak that are rather defamatory and rather ignorantly posed. When a public speaker speaks and then somebody from the council then speaks and defames them, rebuttal is not being allowed.
Way off topic, right? Yeah.
I was just getting clarification.
Rebuttal.
Wayne, can you focus on something that's related to our committee?
That's exactly what I'm doing, because I'm talking about the fact that you have councilmen that are not managing their anger.
Time.
Thank you.
I have 2 minutes. You said 2 minutes. That was 1 minute.
Right, give him that extra minute.
So yesterday, I'm talking at a meeting, I finished speaking, and then I've got one of the panel here sitting there making statements that I'm stupid and I'm saying things that are irrelevant.
Wayne, if you could focus on
and I'm talking about the fact of what happens when anger is not being managed. You're only exposing yourself to city liability when you attack public speakers in violation of the Brown Act. Stop doing that, and if you can't stop doing that, then the only alternative is to enroll in anger management courses. It's not a problem to manage your anger. It's
Wayne,
a serious mental health issue.
I'm sorry, you gotta really focus on health.
And I am. This is about
anger
health
management, and your complaints about members is not
but it's about mental health and managing anger. And we've got a serious problem, and this should be considered and possibly done. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne, don't go anywhere. I want you to sit down. We're going to go to, if members don't mind, we're going to take up item number 2 first.
Oh, sure.
I'd like to move item number 2. Mr. CLA, can you read that in?
Item number 2 is motion Corretzo-Farrell-Bonin relative to directing the Department on Disability in consultation with the City Health Commission to report on a strategic plan to achieve zero new HIV infection and conversion rates within the City of Los Angeles.
Thank you. We have 2 comment cards for item number 2, and we'll take that up first. Wayne?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I attend the City Health Commission meets on Monday nights down in council chambers once a month. And, of course, the chairman of that panel is Bill Rosendahl, but he's been very, very sick. So one of the things that I've talked at the City Health Commission and another person, Dr. Armando Herman, has talked about, is that this committee should somehow connect with the City's Health Commission, and now I see that you're doing that.
Wayne, actually, we're on item 2, not 1.
Well, yeah, you're consulting with the City Health Commission to report on a strategic plan. So the last City Health Commission meeting we went to, which is what we did, we only had 3 items on the agenda, which didn't cover this. And I'm glad to see that you're doing this now involving these issues, because 1 and 2 are going to be referred to that committee. And again, this committee is made up of a lot of people who network with the county. They also network with federal government funding. So this is a very good way to come in and deal with issues such as HIV infection, conversion rates, and also homelessness, and the needle replacement and disposal plans. So they've been doing that, and finally I see that the connection is being made between the city's committees and the commission, because this commission has been highly underutilized. And I think that now it's starting to
Wayne,
receive...
thanks. You know, we had a problem with timer. With the 2 minutes is up.
No, it was 1:30, right?
No, it was, there was a mistake. We were supposed to have a minute, but she gave 2.
Yeah, that's what you gave me, 2 minutes.
Right, and she reset it, so sorry about that.
Oh, really?
2 minutes was the up. Yeah, I apologize.
Okay, that sounds
So we
fine.
have,
Thank you very much.
Morgan Humphrey, please, and let's give her 2 minutes since we gave Wayne 2 minutes. From the Drug Policy Alliance.
Good morning, committee. As he said, my name is Morgan Humphrey, and I'm a representative of the Drug Policy Alliance. I commend the committee for taking on such a critical issue of reducing HIV transmission. For decades, we've seen how HIV has not discriminated against any class of individuals in regards to transmission and infection. The same should be the case when it comes to the treatment. When it comes to treatment and prevention when it comes to HIV. I encourage the committee to include evidence-based practices for reducing HIV transmission amongst IV drug users. These include syringe exchange programs, safe consumption centers, and decriminalization of drugs. Many countries around the world have adopted these programs to minimize the harms of injection drug use, and we've seen their benefits in both reducing HIV transmission along with hepatitis C and B and hepatitis B, and also reducing the drug use within the community. So I really encourage you to include this when you do your report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Humphreys. And I'd like to thank Councilmember Koretz for bringing this motion to the committee, and if I could call up the Department of Disability to discuss our current efforts about HIV transmission.
Good morning, council members. Ricky Rosales, City AIDS Coordinator. I'm not sure if you received the report. I transmitted it last night. Yes? Okay.
You got it.
If not, I brought copies. So we were asked to develop a
Excuse me,
plan.
committee members, that report is not part of the agenda.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Apologies. Yes, the members, that report wasn't submitted on time, but we could get that report to the members later, right?
Yeah, the only thing before you is the motion.
Okay. But we could hear the report.
You can provide a verbal report.
Yeah, you could provide a verbal report.
Okay. So we were asked to develop a strategy for a plan to achieve zero HIV infections in the city. So this is what we did. We conducted an assessment of existing plans from New York, from San Francisco, a report called Fast Track Cities, Washington, and West Hollywood. We also connected with existing efforts currently in progress to develop plans. So State Representative Gibson has a process going on. The State of California Office of AIDS has a process going on. And the County Division of HIV and STD Programs is beginning a process to develop a plan. And then we began the refinement of our own sort of white paper framework to combat HIV in the city. We completed that in December of 14. So what we started doing was focusing and reframing the goals to serve as a sort of a template, a starting point for our own plan, if that is the way we want to proceed. What did we find? Of the plans that we looked at, only New York, San Francisco, and the Fast Track Cities have been completed. Washington and West Hollywood have only been announcements, so they haven't developed their plans yet. Common components in all plans, identifying new positives and getting them into treatment and making sure they're undetectable, pre-exposure prophylaxis, and then reducing stigma, among other issues that sort of came out differently in the plans. There were varying sort of roadmaps or ways to get to zero in the 3 plans that we looked at, and there were various levels of commitment, most of it being existing federal resources. And in terms of our recommendation on proceeding is that we need to work in conjunction with all the other partners that are developing plans. We can't work in silos. If we want it to be, if we want to be effective, if we actually do want to get to zero in the city, we need to be able to connect with our county partners who have the lion's share of resources. We have to connect to the states so that we're not working on separate strategies.
No. Well, I want to open it up to members first. Do you have any questions?
I have a few questions. Thank you so much, and I look forward to reading the written report too. So you mentioned, did you say New York and West Hollywood are developing their plans?
No, Washington and West Hollywood are still in the process of developing their plans, yeah.
Does New York and San Francisco, do they have their plans in place?
They do.
Okay, and what are some of the methods that you think, just maybe it's contained in your report, that you find constructive and beneficial?
Some of the ones that I highlighted were really, we need to identify the individuals that are positive and don't know it. We need to get them into treatment, and we need to make sure that we maintain them in treatment. And then for the ones who are high-risk negatives, we need to get them on pre-exposure prophylaxis and other behavioral interventions that can help.
And that's, that's pretty basic, and that's simple, and that's good. But are there proven methods with either municipality on how to achieve that?
Everybody these are all sort of new for all the cities, so we're all in an experimental phase right now. Those interventions are effective. We know that if someone is on treatment undetectable, they are more than 90% less infectious, so they can't transmit HIV. And if people are on PrEP, it's 90% effective that they will not get HIV. So we're focusing on interventions. The way that the cities are doing it it's all different.
So those percentages that you just gave are based on studies.
Correct.
So those studies could be very beneficial as well, and maybe they could be part of your report.
Okay.
That can inform us. And then have you taken a look at how to prevent transmission in other populations like prisons, jails, et cetera?
Not directly.
Kind of beyond what we're focused on, but just out of curiosity, because there might be learnings from that.
Not directly, because they're such a different system. So the prisons and the jails, they do their own health care. So they're not really involved in the sort of county system or the programs that we fund on the ground by the city. But it's something we can look into.
Something to look into. And then lastly, we can learn a lot from existing agencies and their prevention and intervention campaigns, like the LGBT Los Angeles Center and others, Bienestar, et cetera. So do you have any information yet on their programs and their success rates?
Yeah, we fund both of those agencies. So the programs that we fund for the center are targeting LGBT homeless youth. And for Bienestar, we do syringe collection and disposal. And they're very effective programs.
All right, so that's a nice benefit to learn from with direct experience.
Yeah.
And okay, well, thank you so much. I look forward to looking at the written report.
Mr. Englander? Thank you for your work. So what's the department's budget for HIV/AIDS, roughly?
So the current budget, in terms of general funds, $590,000. The rest of it is CDBG, which has been proposed to be eliminated in the next cycle.
How much CDBG? How much CDBG?
About $800,000.
And do you have an estimate of what resources would be required to achieve zero new HIV infections in the city?
We'd need to dig a little bit more to get to that number. We did a comparison with the San Francisco, because that was the number that was available. They are spending about $106 in San Francisco, like general funds, per person infected with HIV to put into this plan. So if we wanted to do something similar, that would be sort of a number that we looked at with what was available to us at the moment.
But you guys also work in conjunction with the county Office of AIDS Policy and Planning.
Correct.
OAPP. Okay. And so most of the city monies is contracted out, or is it?
Correct.
Okay. So no in-house services, or?
We don't. We're a very small staff, and we try to get bang for our buck. So we reach out to agencies, we fund pieces of programs, we enhance programs, and that's how we sort of reach the numbers that we reach.
So enhance the county funded programs, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay. And you guys have strong relationships from, I know when I was in the county, we work closely with the city and the county.
Oh, yeah. I have a long relationship with Mario Perez.
Great. So we will receive and file, and with, no, I'm sorry. We'll have to receive it for the report. City, I'm sorry? You just approved the motion. Oh, just approve the motion, and we'll receive the report later. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No objections. Now, item number 1, we'll go back to item number 1. Mr. CLA, if you could read an item number 1, please.
Item number 1 is motion O'Farrell Fuentes relative to requesting the City Health Commission to continue to examine in depth the issues on homelessness, mental illness, and excessive storage of personal property at future commission meetings.
Thank you, Mr. CLA. And we do have Susie Shannon here, who is the Vice Chair of the Health Commission. She could join us in case we have any questions. And I really want to thank you, Councilmember O'Farrell, for bringing this motion to the committee. And I would like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your leadership here. Thank you, Ms. Shannon, for attending. So for the better part of 1.5 to 2 years, I've been working on the issue of excessive storage, otherwise known as hoarding in the pejorative, as it relates to dwellings and the inherent danger and the complete preventability of this disorder as it relates to structure fires and endangering those who are afflicted with the disorder and the surrounding neighbors. And I could cite several examples in my district where it's an issue as it relates to people who actually have a home. And what we see in our encampments is that it is also rampant within the homeless community. And I could show you pictures taken just this week of an encampment on Juanita that my staff and the various agencies have gone to more times than I can count over the last 2 years and 8 months, including twice in the month of March. And there are several individuals in this encampment that are hoarders, and within days, their belongings spread out into the street and beyond because they're collectors of things. So as inconvenient as it is to address this disorder within our homeless population, I feel that we must. And that is the impetus of this motion, so we could really, kind of have everything on the table and take a good square look at it. Now, the disadvantage is, with the Health Commission, it's all volunteer, and so it's really coming together in its very first year, and individuals like Ms. Shannon have stepped up to the plate and are dedicated to serve in this capacity, and we are very grateful for that. So we know that it's a resource issue, but I just wanted to kind of explain the genesis of this motion to begin with. And then, Ms. Shannon, if you have anything to add, or even a cursory sort of look that you've had at this issue, and then I have just a few questions.
Okay. First of all, I would just say that homelessness is a health issue, as we know. And I don't know the prevalence of hoarding within the homeless population. I do know that because they live an itinerant existence, that a lot of times they have to be able to bring whatever they have with them from place to place. So I don't know if comparing it to hoarders who live in homes, which of course is a mental health issue, I don't know what the comparison is there, really.
And I can just tell you anecdotally from visiting the encampments in person over the last 10 years that the affliction is very similar. And we have people, like I mentioned at the Juanita encampment, who have been there for months, if not years, and they collect. And so, anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But.
Sure. So I would say that just the fact that people who are homeless don't have access to storage for their tents or other things that they have out there is creating a serious barrier. And the barrier really is that they're not accessing medical help that they need, and they're also not accessing food and other things that they need because they tend to stay with their stuff. So the more stuff they have, obviously, the more of a situation this creates because they can't just pick up and go. But we do need more and better storage until we can address the housing needs for everyone who are homeless. But it goes sort of back to that. So let's just say for the sake of argument that someone needs mental health care and they're staying with their things because they're afraid they're going to get stolen or they'll be confiscated by the police. They're probably less likely to be able to access health care. They're probably less likely to make an appointment with a doctor, to show up for that doctor's appointment. And so it's sort of a domino effect. And I'm not sure, I mean, the way to address hoarding is through mental health care. And then accessing that is sort of another question. And I don't really know what the answer is other than perhaps to start bringing mental health care to people where they're at, as opposed to trying to get them to access it in another location.
And let me tell you, we do. We bring mental health services from the county at all of these interventions. And so it's, no one has revealed to me yet a different way, because the greater the disorder, right, the mental disorder, the greater the service resistance. And so that's a real issue. And then we have disadvantages like Prop 47 and the unintended consequences of that. And you're talking about a real compounded problem. So I don't want to put any burden on you. You're a volunteer on this commission. But what I would hope to do is we want to be able to provide you the resources as a volunteer commissioner and with your colleagues to just take a good close look at this and actually for the Health Commission to put together a report and to pay some attention to this disorder within the homeless community as well. And so I don't know if you all have the wherewithal to do that yet, and that's kind of what we're trying to explore here.
Well, I don't necessarily see it as a burden. I mean, I think it's sort of a new issue that we would have to look at, and I think it would probably require going out into the field as well and sort of getting. I mean, I'm out on the field with the homeless community, fairly regularly. But if there are just specific areas that you would like us to look at, I think going out into the field and trying to assess sort of what that situation is and talking to people who are in the mental health community. But, it's for people who are housed even, this is a very difficult issue to tackle in terms of hoarding. And I think sometimes it's triggered by an emotional event. Usually a traumatic event, and for people who are on the street, they're sort of living that every day. So I think it's probably even more of an uphill battle for someone to address that issue, because this is sort of their survival mechanism that's sort of kicked in. And so I think we just need to be sensitive to that. And I think there's also maybe a fear that their stuff will be taken away. And usually when you do something like that, from what I know of just of hoarding, when you do something like that, it creates even more trauma, and then it just exacerbates the situation. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, I think a field visit would be good, and then trying to address this with mental health practitioners who can, hopefully people who work with hoarders, fairly regularly, I think would be helpful. And in terms of mental health counseling, I'm not sure what the approach was, but I think, sometimes when you set up shop for a while, as opposed to just sort of, honing in on someone and saying, we can help you right now. I mean, if somebody came to my house or your house and just said, I'm going to help you right now, it's just, sometimes that approach doesn't work. But if you set up shop for a while, and people know that, help is, literally around the corner, I think that can help. So we can look at different approaches as well.
Okay. I'm going to have a suggestion and instruction, but I don't want to utter that.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe there's some other comments.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Englander, on this item? But thank you, Councilman O'Farrell, for bringing this to our attention. And, I think I don't want to get too much into homelessness issue, because your motion does have homelessness, mental health, and excessive storage. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about the Health Commission, and maybe have a discussion on what we feel, how we could best work with that Health Commission. And I don't have to go with the background, because background about how the Health Commission was formed is probably more for my benefit than the members here. And I've had the opportunity to meet with several of the health commissioners, including the vice chair. And I think your commissioner is amazing, Mr. O'Farrell. Thank you for that. I haven't had a chance to meet your commissioner yet, Councilman Englander. And it's unfortunate that we weren't able to work with the city clerk and the health commission before they had their first meeting. So we're almost kind of taking us going backwards. And I spoke with some of the commissioners. Some had concerns, and I wanted to first share a couple of my thoughts of what I thought the direction of the Health Commission should be, and I wanted to get my colleagues. And it's exactly what you said, Councilman O'Farrell. You were talking about hoarding and how it's mostly mentally ill, and no matter how much outreach we do, it's really difficult for them to come to outreach, and something needs to be done. And I think that's an issue that I want our committee, with the assistance of the commission, to tackle. Exploring 5150, exploring the involuntary treatment aspects, exploring other avenues, possibly with mental health laws and ordinances, where it could help free up our outreach workers to help. But on that focus, I want to see if we could, because the Health Commission is new, and it's in its first year, and they do have some deliverables. I believe you are required to do 2 reports, one verbal and one written, to the City Council. So I really want the Health Commission to focus on health, like especially best practices of the city that it has direct control over for implementing health policy. Review and work with the county delivery of health system in Los Angeles City to ensure standards and fair delivery of services. Recommending improvements of key interactions between the city and the county on health issues, predominantly, and prioritizing areas closely aligned with health and mental health that are not already being reviewed by other commissions or committees to reduce duplicative work. So we do have a homeless committee, and from my understanding, the Health Commission reports to our committee. So I don't want us to duplicate the work of others, and I want to see if we could focus on our main objective. And there are a lot of things that we're working with the mayor's office on, like the workforce wellness program for our city workforce. Trying to figure out, working with the county on coming up with a wellness manual. I mean, things that we could actually have deliverables and have some wins for the commission, so that we could use it as a valuable resource and as a way. And as you mentioned, it is a volunteer board, and they have no staff, no budget. So it's eventually seeing how we could augment that and see how we could support the commission and how we could work closely with the commission on the objectives that we want to accomplish here at the committee.
Right. And Mr. Chair, I think your expertise and your experience in this is going to be invaluable to the process. And I mean, I personally appreciate your leadership on this, kind of taking it from here. And yes, I think that the work that the commission does and that this committee does can really augment what a lot of the other committees are doing, including the homelessness committee, because we can actually explore the root causes of some of these mental disorders, and how we can constructively add to the conversation to help help that process and help deal with those those issues and get to some of the root causes, because I am sometimes concerned that we as a council don't focus enough on some of the root causes of the issues we're dealing with, and I think that's where we can be especially beneficial. So well said.
Mr. England, do you have any thoughts about direction of the Health Commission?
Not yet. I want to see what the report is about.
So actually, there is no report. This is this motion was from Councilman O'Farrell, and which we're going to approve. But what I'd like to propose is I'd like to work on a rough draft of a letter to the commission about some of the directions, and I'd love to share it with all the members of the committee to get your thoughts on it.
I think that would be good. And I would like to add an instruction. You mentioned the city clerk and you mentioned the CAO. Mm-hmm. So if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chair, to add the instruction, which I think will help our volunteer commission, that the City Health Commission communicate to the city clerk the services and the assistance necessary that you will need to carry out your scope of duties as specified in the ordinance, which is number 183 093. And upon receipt of those needs, that the city clerk, with the assistance of the CAO, report to council on the recommended budgetary resources to provide said services and assistance. I think that's a good initial step.
So, Mr. Sele or City Attorney?
Yeah,
Can-
you really can't share a letter like that for circulation amongst a majority
Oh.
of the quorum. That could constitute a meeting,
Okay,
so you could share with one other person.
great. But for Councilmember O'Farrell's motion, amendment, can we add it to this
Yes.
motion as
The
well?
instruction can be added for the written report.
Yes, you could orally make a motion to add.
Or could I ask the other members to, well,
They can't come in like this
Okay.
either.
okay.
They can't be.
Then maybe we'll possibly agendize at another meeting then,
Yeah,
for discussion, and if the members could think about the direction of the Health Commission. Okay. Okay. Great. So there was, any other questions, members? No. There was a public comment card, but I don't see Wayne here. So I'd like to approve and move this motion. Second. No objections? Thank you. So we are, seeing there's no other items, and we already fulfilled the public comment card, we're going to end early here. Thank you. Thank you, members.